Call this meeting of the Longville Township Board of Supervisors to order. Pledge allegiance to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Recording announcement, this meeting is being video and audio recorded. Roll call.
Mr. Ely,
Here.
I'm present. Mr. Prescott,
Here.
Anybody from Columbia?
give your name, please.
Greg Wilson.
Rick Wilson.
Yes, sir.
What's new?
Ray Lynch.
Ray.
Yeah, Lynch, L-Y-N-C-H.
Okay. You're also from Columbia?
Yes.
We should continue construction. All the equipment's on site, and all the pipes on site, and a few more deliveries. Things are going well. We're just hoping for sunny skies.
I think we all are.
You have a completion date?
In-service date is October 1.
Is that you say in-service date?
Yeah, that's when we're.
Present service?
Anything, Zach? Anybody have any comments? Questions? There was a concern, I guess, of Delashon being closed. That was Mark West that closed it, correct?
I believe so, yeah. They came in Tuesday morning, said they were going to be open. So, presume not very good for that this workplace.
All righty. Thank you.
Thank you.
Somebody from Claysville Fire Department?
Yes. My name is Brad Sims. I'm the president of the Claysville Volunteer Fire Department, and I'm here this evening to talk about an issue we have at our firehouse in Claysville. We have a structural integrity problem on the building right now. The upper floor where the original firehouse, which was built in the late 1960s, we're having a structural issue right now with the concrete. The slabs are moving and the floor is unstable and it needs repair. Is going to be a major repair, taking out concrete, putting in new trusses and so on and so forth to support the floor. Our bigger trucks we do keep downstairs now. If you haven't been to the firehouse in a while, we have a truck bay downstairs where the rescue and the engine park and the tanker, which are the heavier vehicles. But we do keep a brush truck, a squad, the old engine that you see sitting out front, and a hazmat trailer in the upper floor. The building is also used for fundraising, so it's not only a truck bay, it's a way we make money. Our festival, Ladies Night Out, any events are happening in that building happen in that truck bay. It needs repaired. We had an engineering firm called Gateway Engineers out of Pittsburgh who evaluated the building and determined that a good portion of the upper floor needs the concrete removed, the superstructure repaired, new concrete poured, and of course a new surface put on the floor. That would basically fix that floor for probably the life of the building, as far as we can know at this time. It will not affect, luckily it will not affect the new kitchen we put in or anything of that nature, but it is going to require a lot of work. The proposal we have is $66,987.50. That would include demolition of the concrete slab replacement, prep, coating, the truss modification, structural steel, and they've even built in some temporary shoring into that to make sure that that floor holds while they're doing the work from above, that we don't collapse into the basement. The engineer said that it would not probably fail catastrophically, like a building collapse, but the floor could start coming down into the center at some point in time, especially around the drain. Just over the years, water and stuff has run down through the cracks. The trucks when they were upstairs did leak water over the years and caused some structural damage as far as the supports down below. So what we're here for tonight is to ask for any consideration from Donegal Township for any portion of this repair to the firehouse. It's not something that we certainly have money in the bank to pay for, but we're told that it needs done. They would like to start the second week of August, right after the festival. The work would take about 2.5 months to 3 months, and we'd like to have the work completed before winter so we don't have trucks parked outside. And does anyone have any questions?
August 2nd start, you take it?
We'd like to start the second week of August. They feel as though that's, we want to get the festival through and get that done and then let them do the work.
Have you guys looked into any other sources of income?
As far as, well, we've reached out to several of the organizations, as far as the gas company and people like that. We do have some feelers out right now, but we don't have anything confirmed from anyone that they could, to help us.
Doesn't your insurance cover stuff like that?
Not in this case, because it's just, I guess, what you would call wear and tear. And just natural, deterioration, because the building is a 48-year-old building.
Fred, who did you get the bids from to do it?
Well, this is from Gateway, and this is Gateway's, they call this an opinion of probable preliminary cost of construction and floor repair. Now, from here, he's gonna go out and get bids, but in their estimation, this is how it's gonna come in. It's gonna come in at about this cost.
So does it go through them, or you get bids from actual contractors to do the?
They will get the bids, and then they will present them to us, and then we would, of course, at that time, approve the final bid on the work. My understanding, he gets maybe 2 bids, he's working on 2 bids now, maybe a third. I'm certainly not a structural engineer, but, I'm just taking the information. Now, what we have here, which I can leave tonight for your review, is a set of drawings. I mean, we had a set of professional drawings done that would be required to do the bidding, and then it has all the specifications on it, which I'll leave to you.
Thank you.
Good, thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, and you all have a good evening.
Take care.
Thank you.
It's not on the agenda, but the Fish Commission is here. Who's representing Fish Commission?
I'm Mark Mitchell, Fish and Boat Commission. I'm with Property Services, which is land surveying and real estate, and
Dan Hagen, Sharon.
Dan, would you spell your last name, please?
G-A-H-A-G-A-N.
G-A-H-A-G-A-N?
Yes,
Okay, thank you. And you also with Property Services?
I'm an engineer.
Engineering. Thank you.
okay, we received an email on June 9th indicating that the supervisor were interested in having a second discussion pertaining to the back road of Donegal, which is kind of a follow-up to the April 11th meeting. As I had indicated, we would bring existing leases we have at another lake that would resemble anything. If you decide to actually pursue this, I brought some leases for you guys to go over. I don't know if you want to go over them now, what the responsibilities would be, or if you want to read them and contact
Probably
us.
let our solicitor look at them.
Are these samples that we're going to keep?
You can keep them, yeah. They're actually for Somerset Lake,
Okay.
over in Somerset County. It's an agreement we have with them. It's a 25-year lease. Now, theirs was based off of a feasibility study that had previously been done, so there were some projects already pre-approved that were put in there that they could do without our approval. Typically, with a lease, we'll allow for improvements, but we want to review them before they're actually to proceed with them.
Now, were you on board when discussions were held with Washington County Commissioners?
No.
For this project?
I was here then, but I wasn't involved with real estate. I was just doing surveying.
Okay,
So
but
no.
they've indicated to us that they have an interest in the project.
Yes, and actually, now that you say that, I should have found, there were existing example leases done for their review specifically for Dutch Fork and Cannonsburg. And I actually probably should have dug up one of the old ones that they had been given on 2 different occasions, but never produced anything, never followed through on it.
Would that be a possibility that if they were interested, either alone or in conjunction with Donegal Township, in looking at this as a project, that we could sit down as a group
Absolutely,
and follow up?
yes.
Obviously, if we have other partners, it would make it more attractive for everyone.
Mhm. Yeah, no, that would actually be a very good idea, if you want to set that up. Do you guys have a township email address, or somebody
Yeah.
on the board that I could send
We-
copies
Yeah, we
of
have
the?
cards right on the windowsill there.
Right behind you there.
Because I can send the previous leases that were drawn up pertaining to the county taking.
Yeah, if you would
control.
send those to us, and we can, we can communicate with them and see what their interest might be, at least see if they're interested in going.
Now,
to
have
the
you
meeting.
talked to them yet?
I have, yes, I've talked with the chairman of the board, Commissioner Laramachi.
And were they receptive?
I'm not gonna say they were receptive, but they weren't, they weren't not receptive. And they just said that they had discussed this once before, and there were a lot of conditions that they were unable to live with at that point in
Okay.
time. I'm not sure the conditions are exactly the same as they were, and I don't know what time period it took.
Yeah,
place.
I'm not sure. Probably their lease would have been to control the whole lake. The lake, the access sites, the road. The dam, definitely not. We always take
Right.
care of, because you guys, there's no way a
Right, we don't
municipality could
take that.
handle the dam.
Yeah, we were at the meeting you had down the hall.
Yeah.
Were you there?
Yeah, I was there.
Okay,
I
okay.
remember you guys.
Okay. Was he here too?
Yes, he was there
That's
too.
my memory's failing.
But we had Commissioner Ally with us too.
Right. Mary, you got anything that you want?
How many acres is this? It's a lake and acreage?
I think it's 100 and, I know I'm gonna get it wrong, it's like 188 and the lake is 90 acres. And the road that we're discussing is a mile and a half.
Mile and a half
A
road?
mile and a half road, single lane.
That would probably be the biggest expense, is
That's absolutely. the
upkeep and
biggest-
maintenance of the road.
Absolutely. So you have to be very aware of that, because that is,
What did you have an estimated cost to repair that before?
185, 200,000.
And that was with contracting it out completely?
Yes.
and that was to replace all the culverts too, correct?
Culverts, yeah.
And that's the real cost, is the culverts.
Is the property titled in the name of the Pennsylvania Fish and Boat
No,
Commission?
it's in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
Commonwealth of Pennsylvania?
Yes,
And did the Commonwealth sign an oil and gas lease for that property?
yes.
And what, is it in production? Is there a possibility there could be a pad placed on this
No,
property?
the way the lease is written, they cannot place a pad on the property.
But you would share that lease with the board? In terms of seeing what they're
Oh,
getting into?
sharing, yeah,
I mean, the lease has surface
Yes.
activities that they would need to know.
Well,
about.
no, they're actually, we're not given any surface rights.
All right,
on
so
our
it's a
property.
non-surface
It's a
lease.
non-surface lease,
But we
yes.
I could look at it to
Yeah.
confirm all those things, to make sure that they're not inheriting some liabilities or obligations as a result of that lease.
Okay, should I send that to this email and they'll forward it to you?
Yeah, just forward it, they'll forward it to me. And that's with Range, I take it, right? Range Resources?
I really don't know. That's another section that does the oil and gas leases.
I'll have other questions, I guess, once we get into it, but
Okay. You guys have anything else?
Nope.
We appreciate you bringing this information,
Yeah.
and we'll be up to contact with you
Okay.
shortly.
Yeah, hopefully the next meeting will be with the county or
Right.
so.
We'll see what their, we'll write them to see what their interest is in meeting.
Okay.
And,
I got a question.
Good, JD.
Couldn't you use the proceeds from the gas and oil lease to fund the project in its
We-
entirety?
We cannot. The way that it was written, when we started doing gas leases, all the money was going back to the fish fund. It was not gonna be held locally from this place it was taken. The commissioners voted on that before we started all this, so no.
Hence the term Commonwealth.
Yeah. So, yeah, we don't, that's just not the way. It would be nice if it was, and there was a lot of discussion and argument over that, but it didn't bear out that way.
Well, then the Commonwealth should pay for the project, right? Isn't that logical?
That would be logical, but then again, it was the government.
Contradiction of terms.
Yes.
Thanks.
Oh, you're welcome.
And you guys were down and looked at those culverts and roads and so forth. Where did you put most of the cost of that renovation project? Done.
does the public have access to the lake right now?
Yes. On the west side, that access is open, and there's another access up by the dam. They can walk out that road if they choose. There's no restrictions on using the property. It's just the road isn't open because we don't want cars going on it because it's not in a condition that we feel is safe for the public to use for vehicular traffic.
Can residents fish there now?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Could you briefly talk about, most of these folks weren't at that meeting, we had that at all. Could you briefly talk about kinds of things that some of these other municipalities have done at these lake projects? Like playgrounds and
Right.
so forth.
Okay, a lot of our property, especially with the lake ones, I would say 80% of our properties that have lakes on them are leased to a local municipality. What they typically would do with it, they'll make it a county park, because a lot of them are counties. If it's in a more populated area, they have more money, a municipal township will take it, or a borough. And what they do, they develop it into a park. And they'll put pavilions in, picnic tables, trails. Usually, most of them, all of them have a trail around the lake. And for either biking or walking. But they'll develop it for the local citizens. They have complete control of the property. The only thing that we retain control of is resource management of the water and fisheries management. And also, since we own it, any improvements done, we want to review and give approval on. But it's really up to, on a lease, typically it's the entity that's leasing it from us does control the property to do development. But with that goes all maintenance for whatever they build and construct. Or actually the whole thing. They have to do mowing, maintain the roads, the parking lots, the porta potties, or full bathrooms if they end up putting it in. But like I said, the majority, like Somerset Lake, that's a lease. Donegal is not, but there's a chance that will end up being, especially the ones that are getting dams rebuilt on, are to be able to bring money in, they get the local citizens interested, they'll start a Glade Run, it was Save Glade Run. And then it became the Glade Run Conservancy. And they raise money and then they signed an agreement with us, they put a trail in, and fortunately for you guys, your flood was, your dam was taken out by a flood. And it was, in comparison to the other ones, it was rebuilt pretty quickly. But it was before they condemned most of our dams, so there was still money available. Now it's very hard for us to get money because the majority of our dams had to be rebuilt to come up to current standards.
What's the duration of this lease?
It really can be for whatever you want, but it can't be over 25 years. The way our code's written.
Yeah, have other municipalities where you've entered into this lease agreement applied for state recreation grants and obtained them?
Yes, because they actually have to have at least to apply for grants.
And I think you have to have a minimum of 25 years.
Yes, and they have to have enough control, which the license agreement typically isn't accepted because they don't have enough control of the property. So that's why the lease is used, and it has to be 25 years, and they do apply for grants.
So that's a possibility, that if the township
That would
would do this, they
absolutely
could
be
apply
the-
for grants to upgrade the park.
It would be highly recommended to do that, yes.
And the Fish and Boat Commission would support that?
Yes, and we would do a letter of or a letter of recommendation, and, that's all very standard. The idea is somebody had put in one of the emails about putting a pavilion in. You can do that and charge a fee. We do allow fees for certain things. Now, fishing and boating, we won't allow you to do charge a fee unless maybe you rent kayaks or something. But you can do the pavilion and rent out the pavilion.
But this is a $1 lease, right?
Yeah, it doesn't cost you guys
Okay.
anything. Well, it costs you because you have to maintain the
Right,
property
right,
and stuff,
right.
but no, you
Right.
don't pay us anything, no.
Is it required that you do improvements other than mowing and maintenance?
No. If you choose just to do maintenance on it, that's up to you guys. Now, also in the lease, we do have a provision in there that we can make our own improvements if we feel it's necessary. But we're not obligated to do that. But to do it, we also have to notify you and get approval because you guys, the lease gives you pretty good control of the property. But no, you guys could go into a lease and not do anything. The problem is, the further you get into the lease, your lease term's coming near an end, so it's gonna be problematic getting grants. We've run into that before where what we'll do is just extend the lease to get it back out to 25 years if you find a funding source that needs 25 years.
Any other questions?
Appreciate it, thank you.
And, yeah, because remember, we're not here to request for you guys to do this.
Right.
The lake's gonna stay the way it is, it's just it's gonna be a long time before that road ever gets fixed by us, because we just don't have the funds. And we can't apply for grants like municipalities can, we're not eligible.
All right,
Okay.
thank you.
Mhm. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're just gonna stay or leave, it's up to you. Whatever you wanna do. Motion to suspend the current rules of the meeting and return to the old rules, resolution 2016-7.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? Good, JD.
If I recall, when was that changed? And the date, you changed that and adopted these?
Whatever date the resolution 2016-7 is.
You don't have that in front of you?
No.
Do you have the rules in front of you?
This was approved July 13th, 2016.
If I remember correctly, and I'm sure you'll correct me if I don't, you guys adopted the current rules based on recommendation from the solicitor after lengthy discussion with the public and following the lead of the planning commission. Because the planning commission, at their first joint meeting, or the big meeting with the public, with much discussion, adopted those rules, or, you know, it's a joint venture and got a good set of rules, how standard procedure should be, as it's done normally, usually customary, and I believe that there was a lot of discussion back and forth between the board and the public, and after that discussion, Mr. Sweat recommended that you follow their lead and adopt the same set of rules and use that as a guideline, which everybody seemed to agree on and was taking a step forward in the right direction. So I guess, why would you want to go backwards and not go against the recommendation of the solicitor and undo what you did to move forward?
Only thing I'll say, JD, you only have 5 more meetings with us, so after that, you can change it wherever you want.
Well, that's not the point. You still are obligated to do your best for the residents of Donegal Township while you're serving in office, regardless. So it's not about that, it's about doing the right thing for the people, not that, hey, we're out of here in 5 months, so we don't care anymore. That's not what I'm asking. I don't understand, you made a choice based on the recommendation of your solicitor, in agreement with the public, adopted those, followed the lead of the planning commission, to move forward. Everybody was in agreement. I believe I even thanked you for that at the time. And my question is, why would you want to go backwards? And, you know, that's gonna cause issue, and there's just no point. You know what I mean? I don't understand why you want to do that.
I told you why.
No, you actually didn't.
Any other, Bill, any comments?
Maybe ask the solicitor. Gary, you have a,
Well, the law permits the governing body to set the policy for public comment. I mean, that's what the Sunshine Law says. That they have to provide the residents and the attendees at a meeting the opportunity to give public comment on agenda items before decisions are made. So that can be done either with the opportunity to give public comment on agenda items at the beginning of the meeting, alternatively, to give public comment on each item as it comes up, and then also to provide for public comment at the end of the meeting on non-agenda items. I think the paramount thing here, JD, is that a board of supervisors must conduct business and not be derailed. In this instance, if the board votes to enact a policy that provides for public comment on agenda items at the beginning of the meeting, I would just encourage the board to answer questions on a particular item on the agenda if it's not apparent. If there's not enough information on the heading, motion to do something, that they would give the individual or the public the information or background that's leading up to that motion so that you can make comment. Because the whole purpose of public comment is to present an issue or an opinion or a side that maybe the supervisors haven't considered so that they can make an educated vote on that particular item. That's the whole purpose of public comment. So in this instance, if the board adopts that, as you go through the agenda, and if there's a question that you need a little bit more information on, to either make a comment or not make a comment, they need to give you that opportunity. So
We had that discussion before, and I thank you for that, because that makes the most sense to address it as you get to it, instead of when you don't know what the discussion's gonna be, and that was your recommendation, you laid it out, and we thank you for that.
Yeah.
So is it now your recommendation to stay with that, or to go back to the old way? What do you recommend to the board under this?
I would say almost every township that I'm familiar with provides public comment at the beginning of the meeting on agenda items. And that there is not an open public comment on each item. That at the very end of the meeting, public comment on a non-agenda item or an agenda item again, that would be the time to do it. But they have to transact business. And that's the most orderly way to transact business. And not to make it a debate or a question and answer period, but to receive public comment on issues that they have to vote on.
So you're going against what you recommended a year ago, basically, is what you're saying? Or
I mean,
you're not giving a recommendation?
You can do it either way. It's up to the board to decide. I just think it's more orderly to provide public comment at the beginning, so long as you have enough information on an agenda item to make a comment.
But what
That's
if,
the only thing
what if we don't have enough information?
well, now would be the time to ask the question,
Okay, so
during
if,
public comment time.
but when you give your report, how, and we have questions, are we supposed to wait until the public comment?
No, a report from a department is not an agenda item. It's just a report. And I think if you had questions of the police department or the solicitor, the appropriate time to do that, and I'm sure the chairman would let you ask me questions as part of my report. Or you do it at the end. Make a mental note, Sweat said this, we need to ask him about it. But I don't think that you're being muzzled from asking questions of any of the department heads.
Gary, the problem with that has been in the past. And I think you would agree, or anybody would agree, that it makes the most sense to address the issues as we discuss them, instead of trying to jump forward or jump backwards. And what has happened in the past by doing that, get mixed up. Sometimes they forget that the motion's on the table, or a vote, or, you got discussion that it bounces all over the place. I mean, it makes perfect, logical, common sense to address each item and ask for public comment as you go down the list. Because not everybody gets the opportunity, A, to get here in time to read ahead, or to think of the public comment until it is brought up, or there's discussion on it, which makes the most sense. You yourself recommended they adopt that, thought it was a very good plan, commended you on that, everybody was in agreement, they did it. I just don't understand the purpose of going backwards. So.
I know there are pros and cons. I know.
Good,
I
Bob.
understand.
Where in today's, this agenda for tonight, is public comments on non-agenda items?
There isn't one.
It's not there, it should be there. That's just an oversight, it should be there.
Then that is part of it. Okay, thank you.
I'm not familiar with the new rules or the old rules, so what are we, is it just, the only thing that's changing is when the public comment occurs?
Right, it's public comment at the beginning on agenda items, and not after each agenda item comes up.
Okay, so like the one that says motion to add the following motion to the agenda and it's blank, we can ask questions for that one during that one because if there's no.
If it's not on the
Right,
agenda.
right. If it comes up in the middle of the meeting, they have to open it up for public comment because it was not listed as an agenda item.
Okay, or if you have questions on something that's not explained fully on the agenda then.
Or run the executive session. Go ahead, Tammy.
Here, I just have a question. I was actually reading that resolution, and that resolution states that the public comment will be at the beginning. So that means that we're getting rid of it then, because they're wanting to do away with that, correct?
No, I don't think so.
Item B reads, the public comment will be scheduled at the beginning of each opening meeting. So that means that they're doing away with it, right? If they're doing away with the resolution.
That's not, I don't have the resolution in front of me,
I'm
but
just asking, 'cause
my
that's what.
understanding is the prior procedure was public comment at the beginning of the meeting on agenda items, and then it was changed to public comment not only at the beginning of the meeting, but on each item on the agenda. So it's my understanding now that this motion is to go back to public comment at the beginning of the meeting
Yep.
on agenda items.
That's what I was reading, because the actual resolution that they're quoting, which is the 2016-7, says it will only be at the beginning. And that's under the first part of the rules of conduct. That's why I'm asking.
Sure.
Okay.
Wouldn't the proper thing to do and to clarify is to have those sets of rules on hand and read them or have them printed out for people if you're going to adopt new set of rules or revert back to an old set of rules? You should certainly, I would think you would have both sets there for people to review.
But JD, this isn't that
or to
complicated.
discuss.
They just have to abide by the sunshine law that says they have to provide for public comment.
Okay,
And when do they provide for it? They set the procedure.
but I asked Dave if he has the rules in front of him. He said he does not, so if he does not have the rules of conduct, the meeting, he's the chairman, then what are we going by? He should certainly have them in front of him, and they should be available to the public if we're gonna change the
JD's are
rules.
sitting right here and been on the table all evening.
Okay, well, I asked and he said no.
Okay. Well, they were here, but I had to